Release Asia now. Simply drop her off at a Target, a Walmart, a Kmart, or any other busy store where she will be safe. Attach a note to her clothing that simply states, "Call police, Amber Alert Asia Johnson."
If you're listening, Lester Hobbs, release Asia now. That detective speaking directly to this man, the accused killer on the run with 7-year-old Asia Johnson. Police say the pair vanished after Hobbs bludgeoned Asia's mom to death. A person who was also this guy's estranged wife. That was more than a month ago. Nobody has spotted them. Back to my fantastic panel, Dr. Reeve Kareem. If the 7-year-old child is watching right now, what advice would you give her in terms of how to deal with this monster?
Even though things are confusing and you're not sure what's happening right now and you don't know who to trust, there are people that love you and support you that will help you. All you need to do is to get away from Hobbs. That's all you need to do, and there will be people that can help you and bring you to a safe place.
Good advice. You know, not long before her murder, and this is an astounding aspect of this case, Tanya Hobbs was granted a protective order against her estranged husband. The day before she was bludgeoned to death, Tanya and her suspected killer went shopping together at Walmart, and there's a photo of them. And here they are, holding hands, entering the store. And we also have a photo of them driving away in his white Toyota. Police say they were going to dinner at Tanya's sister's house. Isn't this typical of an abused woman, Casey Jordan? She sought a protection order for this guy, then failed to show up in court, so the order was thrown out, and the next minute they're playing house?
Unfortunately, it's extremely typical. You've got to understand that battered women, abused women, it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen like a snap. It takes weeks and months and years for them to acclimate to the abuse and normalize it. And that relationship is usually a lot of enabling, give and take, and coping, and very often, you know, she doesn't feel like she can survive without him, especially if he was the primary breadwinner in the house. An order of protection sounded good at the time when she had filed for it, but after she perhaps couldn't pay her rent or feed her child, you know, and she misses him. I'm sure she thought she loved him.
Somehow I doubt that this deadbeat was giving her any kind of support. Michelle Sagona, didn't he threaten not just her? Didn't he threaten to kill her with a hammer at one point? And isn't that what police believe he ultimately did? And didn't he also threaten her children?
He did, in fact, threaten the children, and that's what the original protection order states back from August, that's why Tanya went to the police station. She filed that order because he threatened to kill the girls with a hammer. So she was afraid for their lives, and now, you know, she should have also been afraid for her own. That's the first thing.
Yeah, but let me say this. Didn't she show up with the kids when they met for that little family gathering? Weren't the kids in tow?
That part, I do not know for sure.
Well, they had to be because Asia, the mom was killed shortly thereafter, and Asia, police say, watched it. So this is all happening around the same time.
The protection order happened back in August of 2009. Just in December, Tanya was summoned to go back to court because the custody was then revoked from her, given to the father. During that custody order, during that time, the judge did say that Lester Hobbs was not allowed around Asia at all. The weekend that Tanya took Asia over to Oklahoma to see Lester, she lied to the child's father and said that they were going to a birthday party. She may want to keep the child overnight, and he let that happen. But instead, she did take the child over to see Lester Hobbs that weekend. And also, Asia's grandmother told me that he never liked the child, that she has seen him force her to eat a mouthful of jalapeno peppers, and that she has seen bruises on the child from Lester Hobbs specifically, and that she did know that Lester was in fact beating her daughter, but she never thought that it would lead to a murder or lead to something like that. And that is typical domestic violence abuse.
You know, I hate to speak ill of the dead or blame the dead, but Steve Cardian, this mom, not only took her own life at risk into her own hands and lost, but she took her children. She put her children at risk, reuniting with a guy who, according to court documents, stuffed her child's mouth with jalapeno peppers, which is really a form of torture. So God only knows what's happening to this child now.
Well, Jane, let's take a look at the fact that he's a former registered sex offender. The time period that's gone between her disappearance and now is a very lengthy one. That he, by all accounts, and including an account from his grandmother, that he hated her and that he threatened to hit her with a hammer. I'm not, as a police officer, looking at this and seeing a positive outcome with regard to her being recovered or found.
You know, Dr. Reef Kareem, sometimes I'm like, how many more of these can I take? You know, this is so revolting because it was so preventable. If somebody threatens you, leave them alone. Don't ever have any contact with them again. If somebody threatens your kids, 10 seconds, Dr. Reef.
It's amazing to me how emotional pathology, being in a relationship with somebody who abuses you, beats you, hurts you, threatens your kids, tortures your kids, and yet you still stay in this relationship. It says something about you, and it's so hard, and you need so much strength to get away from these kinds of people because they have something on you.
We're going to stay on top of this story. Up next, Miss...
I mean, really, can we have a little bit of respect for the mother that was bludgeoned to death?